Hey guys, it's Legato here. Um, I was on the Auto Chess Discord earlier today, and I wrote a big wall of text about the direction the game's headed and some of the issues that I was having with it. And I thought that it would be more productive to start a video blog, run through some of my thoughts, post it, and hopefully we can get some good discussion going around some of these points. I put a lot of thought into them, but I think I'm open to having my mind changed, and if I lay out the facts, hopefully we can see where people in the community agree or disagree. Okay, so the first place I want to start is on the addition of new units without the removal of, I guess, existing units, and the impact that that has to the chess pool and the ability to hit the chess pieces you needed. So in the most recent patch, we got two new two cost units. We got two Cave Clan units were added into the game, and Sacred Lancer, the 5 cost legendary, was added into the game. So my first problem with this is what it does to the 2 cost pool of units. So before the addition, we had 11 units. Adding 2 more takes us up to 13. And to me, that sends a signal that you're about 10% less likely to get the exact 2 cost unit that you're looking for. So if you're playing a strategy where you need some very specific units, it's now less likely that you're going to get the unit that you're looking for. I think a good example of this would be Feathered, which has the Druid unit Whisper. I think it's Whisper Seer, if I'm not mistaken. And getting 4 copies of that early on allows you to 3-star the unit if you have the full Druid synergy, and that allows you to pressure the lobby early and to be more aggressive with your rolls. By diluting the chess pool, it makes it less likely that you'll get that specific unit, and more likely that a different 2 cost unit would appear as opposed to Whisper Seer. So they've done some things in the past to incentivize rolling early, so rolling before level 10. And then they've done some things in the past to incentivize rolling before a player hits 50 gold, which is, what previously dominated the meta, and that they call the problem area. So one of the things that they did is add in the likelihood that the units that you're currently seeing on the screen will not appear in future rounds if you don't choose to buy them. I'm not sure exactly how that mechanic works. If someone could lay that out, in the comments, I would appreciate it. But I think the long and short of it is that if the units I have in a current turn aren't purchased, and I roll, or it rolls naturally at the start of another round, those units are less likely to appear. And the thought process behind that is, if I make it more likely to remove units that I don't want to see, then maybe it's worth it to invest in rolling early so that I can power spike by hitting the 2-star unit that I'm looking for, and I can pull ahead in the lobby, I can knock someone's win streak off, that sort of thing. For me, the new changes make it a lot less likely that I'm going to roll before 30 gold, and in all likelihood, I'm going to roll very little at all until I'm past 50 gold. I think along the same line, we have the current state of the 3-cost units, which is, in my opinion, worse than the 2-cost units. So there are 16 total 3-cost units as opposed to the 13 2-cost units with the addition of the 2 cave units. And I think if you're looking for a very, very specific 3-cost unit, for example, Fallen Witcher, it can make it really, really hard to dig for that unit by rolling for it, especially if it's contested at all. So you already have a fairly diluted pool. In the past, we've had Umbra move into that from 2 cost to 3 cost. We've had Grand Herald move into that from 2 cost to 3 cost, and it's a relatively crowded space at the 3 cost units right now. I think once again, key units that people want to roll for earlier are Warpwood Sage, Fallen Witcher, um, and those are two build defining units that, in my mind, it's just less likely. I think you're more likely to burn your gold than you are to get ahead by rolling down for those units. And then in the same line of thought, I think in the meta right now, you are seeing the emergence of consistent builds. So builds in which you can complete the synergy without needing exactly the specific units you're looking for. So the best two examples of this are 9 Warrior and 6 Hunter. With the addition of the new cave unit, Skull Hunter, you can complete the 6 Hunter synergy without any 4 cost or 5 cost units. So you don't need Siren, you don't need Spider, and you don't need Tsunami. Just you have the Feathered Hunters, you have the 2 Agursis Hunters, you have Skull Hunter, and you have Sniper, and then you can complete the 6 Hunter synergy. It's not too unlikely to get that before turn 12 if you're going Hunters. And I think that's a really big advantage compared to other synergies where you need either precisely the units that you're looking for, or you only have one unit that can flex in and out in order to complete the synergy. Another example of this is 9 Warrior. So in the past, you needed you needed 9 warriors, and you needed 2 of the 4 cost warriors to complete the synergy. So there were 11 warriors. So you could have 1 cost units, 2 cost units, 3 cost units, and then you had your choice of two of the 3 4 cost units, and then you also had the legendary with Rogue Guard from which to choose from. So it's a little bit harder to hit that than the 6 Hunter synergy, but you have a larger margin for error. You're not necessarily looking for that one specific unit that's going to make or break the build. It's pretty easy to get the 9 Warrior bonus up and running by turn 21 on a very consistent basis. And you have room to upgrade down the line where you can take out some of the 1 cost units that are less impactful, put in Sacred Lancer, put in Rogue Guard, and that's another power spike for late game where you can kind of drop the units that are less impactful in favor of more impactful units while still maintaining the 9 Warrior bonus. So that's my thought on the dilution of the pool. I think if we continue to add new units without removing a similar amount of pieces, that we run the risk of continuing to make it less likely to hit the exact units that they're looking for, and that's going to hurt builds that need very specific units, and it's going to help builds that are less demanding of specific units and have a lot more units in the pool relative to what's needed to complete the synergy. So like Hunter and Warrior. I think that transitions nicely into the next topic, which is the State of Mage. So Mage, as of right now, is one of the strongest builds in the late game. Since they knocked down the need to complete the Double Dragon synergy from 6 units to 5 units, there's a lot of different ways that you can pull off 6 Mage, 5 Dragon, and then even have a flex unit in there that allows you to get a lot of really impactful AoE spells off immediately. This isn't directly caused by Mage, but another another thing that makes Mage really strong is that there's what I believe to be a bug in the game right now, where the dragon synergy allows you to cast your abilities immediately, and that bypasses Python Wand and Claw Wand. So if you have God of Thunder and you have, let's say, Refresher on him, he can cast immediately and nuke down a unit that has Claw Wand on it before that item activates, and it can cause the unit to get, basically either one-shot KO'd if it has few enough HP, or take a significant amount of damage, to the point where if the rest of their army is melting and the entire mage army is focusing it down, it doesn't really have a chance to do its full damage. The thing that makes mage really difficult to build up to is the removal of Shining Dragon. So I know it's a little bit ironic that I have this as a line item when we were highlighting, the fact that we're having the dilution of the pool and the fact that that's a problem in the prior point. So Shining Dragon was really a critical unit to mage to get the 6 mage synergy up and running pretty quickly. B, because it allowed mages to go, 3 mage, 3 dragon in the mid game as you're bridging over to mage. So it was a really, really impactful bridge unit from the stance that it did AoE damage. It did it instantly if you have the dragon synergy, and it allowed you to bridge into a lot of other builds so that you could be winning some of those mid game rounds without having to completely transition from, another build. So the big problem with mage right now is that it's very hard to transition to. So, you might, for instance, hit a bunch of 2-star goblins early in the game, and you can get the mech bonus, which gives you the free rolls. And let's say you're not hitting your Venomancer, you're not hitting your Grim Touch, you're not hitting the units that you would need to complete the 6 goblin synergy. But you do find a Tortola Elder, and you do have the items, like you see that you can make a pole staff with the items that you were given, or you already made a pole staff and threw it on the Heaven Barmer, right? That's a relatively smooth transition from goblins, from goblins into mage. You have your 2-star goblins frontlining your Tortola with the pole staff, and it allows you to, still have a moderately high power level as you're getting your 6 mage synergy up and running. Without Shining Dragon in the game, it's very difficult to do that. And I think as a result, it's pretty rare outside of King 1 and higher gameplay to see mage take first in the lobby. And the reason for that is you're often playing from behind. You don't have a lot of HP leeway to play with, and there's a lot of counter builds. So like 9 warrior with 2 marine does surprisingly well against mage, unless they're fully up and running with 6 mage, 5 dragon, and all of their units are 2-starred. And to be honest, even when that happens, I play a lot of 9 warrior, and even when that happens, I frequently do well against the mage player, and it doesn't take too long to knock them out because they're playing with a low HP count. So I'd like to see, I'm not sure what the answer is here. I'd like to see Shining Dragon added back into the game and some other units removed, and that would be a quick solution. I'd like to see some of, perhaps some new mage units introduced. As it stands right now, to get 6 mage up and running, there's 3 1-cost units. So you have, the Source, you have the Ogre Magi, and then you have Winter, I think it's Chiropteran, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And those are all 1-cost units that basically don't do damage, right? They don't have a damaging spell, and they don't have relevant attack damage. They're really there just to complete the synergy. So accumulating them early game, there aren't too many things that those actually contribute towards. And then you have there's no 2-cost mages at the moment. And then you have your 3-cost mages. You have your Flaming Wizard, which is pretty good unit. You have your Thunder Spirit, which is a pretty good unit. And then if you want to complete the 6 mage synergy, you either have to use Wizards or you have to use Tortola. And you need that one specific 4 cost unit that you need to complete the synergy. So unlike Warrior, which has, you can pick two of the 3 4 cost units between Berserker, Doom, and Pirate Captain, or you have 9 Hunter, where even before even before Skull Hunter was introduced, you had your choice of 2 different 4 cost units to complete the synergy. So you could have Siren or you could have Spider, and there was a lot of options to complete the synergy. With Mage, it's very possible for you to roll down at level 8, roll down at level 9, and not get a Tortola for a long time. And, it's just very, very difficult to get that synergy up and running when you need very specific pieces and you have little margin for error. So I think, in summary, I think the state of Mage right now is that they're super strong late game and very, very hard to bridge to for the majority of the community. And I think the addition of an additional 2, 3, or 4 cost unit would go a long way to smoothing out the meta, because mages really act as a check on a lot of other builds that neglect having marine synergy and can take a lot of AoE damage and get wiped out all at once. So I'd really like to see mage be more prevalent in the meta, and before we talk about some of the other things on the list and talk about the fact that things might need to be nerfed, things might need to be buffed, I'd like to see mage adjusted first before we talk about all the different nerfs and buffs in the game, because since the removal of Shining Dragon, there's a lot of games where no one picks mage or only one player picks mage, and it makes it so builds that have distinct weaknesses to mage just aren't exposed and are able to dominate in the game and maintain their win streaks and that sort of thing. Okay, so next up is Force Shaman. Force Shaman was introduced into the game this patch. The way that Force Shaman works is if you have Force Shaman synergy and any of your Shaman units are killed, it hexes the unit that killed it and transmutes it into another unit of the same cost level. So, for example, if you have, a 4-cost unit like Doom, and it has carry items on it, and it kills one of the Shaman units, it could become, for example, Soul Reaper. It could become Tortola Elder, something that really doesn't make much impact on the battle and doesn't fit in with your synergies or strategy. So I think the intention of this was to stop hyper carries. So in the last couple months, we've seen the 4 divinity bonus with a stacked 3-star water spirit be very, very dominant. It just invalidates a lot of the other builds because there aren't too many direct counters to it. And Fallen Witcher 3-star with Holy Spirit Lance with other carry items can absolutely destroy an entire team by himself. And I think their intention here was to punish builds that rely on just one hyper carry. So, to incentivize, for example, if you're going 9 warrior, instead of having all your items on one hyper carry, you could have some carry items on Doom. You could have some carry items on Abyssal Guard or Rogue Guard. You could have some carry items on Berserker. And if you spread them out, then you're less likely to have an enormous power, an enormous dip in power when your carry last hits, the one unit that it shouldn't have. Um, I think there are some unintended impacts of Four Shaman. So right now it's very, very strong, right? It fits in with the six cave, four glacier, four shaman builds. You could see four shaman in other circumstances as well. So you could definitely see it in six mages using the wizards, where you have storm shaman, which fits in well with mage. You have the legendary unit scryer, which fits in well with mage, and then you just need to add in one more unit. So either the lava unit, that the 2 cost lava cave unit that just got added is shaman, or you could have defector, right? And that would allow you to have six mage synergy, your wizards, um, storm shaman, scryer, which go well with mage. And what that allows you to do is, for example, if you have pull staff on Tortola, you have pull staff on Storm Shaman, you nuke down the vast majority of their team right away with area of effect spells, and they only have one or two units left over that have claw wands on them. So, for example, like a Fallen Witcher. If that unit then kills a Shaman and gets transmuted from, Fallen Witcher into Lord of Sand, the battle's done. You won. So, I think that's kind of neat, but I think there are some unintended impacts. So first of all, right now it's just a little bit too punishing against carries. Um, if you think about six cave, four glacier, four shaman fighting against a mage team, right? Like we talked about before, three of the six mages basically don't do anything. Source, Winter, and Ogre Magi don't do any damage. So you only really have two units in that entire synergy doing AoE damage, and that's Tortola and Thunder Spirit. And then if you have wizards, you might be able to get off a Grim Touch Flaming Wizard combo, and that can do some pretty good damage. And then, you have units like either Storm Shaman or Water Spirit that are filling in as your flex unit that also do area of effect damage. So the thing is, if you have, let's say you're not going dragon, you have six mage, water spirit, you might be trying to go four spirits, you might be trying to go dragon mage, something like that, and your Tortola gets his area of effect off, and it kills defector because defector only has 1100 HP. It's a relatively squishy unit. So what this is doing is it's transmuting your Tortola into a different four cost unit. Let's just say it becomes, um, Spider Queen or something like that. Completely doesn't fit with the synergy, isn't going to do anything, isn't going to make much of an impact on the battle. So essentially what you're saying is the one or two units on the team that are killing anything, and they might not even be hyper carries, they might just be units that you're comp relies to do the majority of their damage, like Storm Shaman, Water Spirit, Tortola. If they kill that backline defector, they're out of the battle, right? You're in the case of mage, it's very, very likely that you're going to be given something, because there are no other four cost mages. It's very likely that you're going to be given something that doesn't do anything for you. You might be given Pirate Captain, and maybe he can get his boat off, and that's pretty good. You might be given Doom, and maybe it can get Doom off. But the majority of the units aren't going to be doing anything for you. So that's my thought on Four Shaman, is just that it's too strong and it counters more things than it's intended to counter. It's just it needs to be tweaked. It's too easy to pull off, and I think it's having a bad impact on the game right now. Okay, so next up, I want to transition and talk into the state of Feathered. So in the past, Feathered has historically relied on power spiking at 8 units. So you have your 6 feathered, and then you either have the 3 assassin variant, or you have the 3 hunter variant. If you're going the 3 hunter variant, typically you're going to use sniper as your hyper carry, and if you're going the assassin variant, typically you're going to use shadow crawler as the hyper carry. So the assassin variant has been very unpopular for a couple seasons now. Just other builds just do better than it, and even when it hits 3-star shadow crawler, it's it's not like a guaranteed win. So, it used to be that you sit at level 8, you have your druids up front, you have your 3-star Warpwood, your 3-star Whisper Seer. Um, maybe you have a 3-star Bear in there as well. And you roll down heavily while you're at level 8 because that is the last level before the chance to get three cost units goes down. So you might you might roll down for the Shadow Crawler, put all of your items on the Shadow Crawler, and have it carry with the strong 6-feathered synergy, making it less likely to get hit and pretty durable as the battle goes on. That variant has not been very successful. I hit that a couple times in season 5 and season 6, and it just felt very underwhelming. So the Hunter variant has been doing pretty well. Grim Touch has been added as a flex unit, and people are using the 2-cost feathered Hunter. I think it's gosh, I can't remember the name right now, but it's Marana from Dota. So it's the unit that launches the stun, and when you have the Grim Touch buff on the stun, you're frequently getting a 5-second stun off on half their team, and that's pretty good. So that variant relies on making Sniper your hyper carry. So I think that build in particular is hurt when you see dilution in the pool by adding more 2-cost, 3-cost units. It makes it less likely you're going to get Whisper Seer. It makes it less likely you're going to get the snipers you need. It makes it less likely you're going to get the Warpwood. You need some very specific pieces to make this build work properly. Another thing that made the build very strong in the past was the nature of the 6-feathered bonus. So when enemy units are missing, they are not getting mana by definition. So if you're fighting, a Night Glacier build, let's say, right, and it has Defector in the back line, it has Fortune Teller in the back line, it has Desperate Doctor in the back line as 3 of the Glacier units. If they're missing the frontline units, like Warpwood, because Warpwood has the 45% chance to miss, and then you might have another evasion item on him, like Ice Armor, or you might have Halberd on him, right? When they're missing a ton, they're not accumulating mana, they're not getting their spells off, so they're not, Fortune Teller isn't making units in the front line invulnerable, they're not, the other 2 Glacier units aren't getting their CC off, that sort of thing. That's an example to illustrate it, but it really carries across to almost every comp you're going to face except for 5 Dragon, 6 Mage. Units that get their abilities off immediately have a big advantage, and that's why Pulse Staff was such an important item in the meta. For units like Siren, for units like Storm Shaman, for units like Tortola in the past. With the addition of some of the newer items like Staff of Teleportation, Flicker Staff, the upgraded Ice Armor item that immediately casts a big AoE Frost Nova and basically gives your unit full mana to immediately get their ability off. Those have had a major impact on Feathered by nullifying some of the natural advantages of Feathered, which is that you're getting your abilities off, but the person that you're facing is getting their abilities off much more slowly if they don't specifically invest in mana items like Pulse Staff. Right? Teleport Staff allows Doom to immediately blink into the back line, to hit your Hunter units with, Cleave, and to immediately get a Doom off, maybe on Bear, maybe on Warpwood, and that makes a really big difference in the battle. It allows Swordmen to immediately blink back there. Teleport Staff on Grim Touch allows Grim Touch to immediately teleport to the back line. get his get his ability off, and then um, the follow up abilities are hitting your entire team. It it's a problem that I think as long as items are playing such a major role in the game, and they're starting to play more and more of a role as time goes on, the natural advantage of feathered is going to be less and less. So let's jump to assassins. I think assassins are in a terrible place right now. Typically, they've been reliant on a hyper carry, whether it be abyssal crawler, shadow crawler, that you load all the items on to do the vast majority of your damage. Now, with the popularity of six caves, six glacier, four shaman, you're going to be jumping to the back line. You're going to be hitting those squishy glacier units first, and when you kill them, your carry's gone. So abyssal crawler, becomes any number of the other 13 two-cost units that are an assassin, or even if he becomes a water elemental and you luck out, right? If you have cleave on him, if you have the other carry items, water elemental isn't going to be doing nearly the same amount of damage. Same thing with shadow crawler. If you have it become umbra, or if you have it become any grand herald, the battle's just over. Your comp isn't going to do anything against a 9 warrior. It's not going to do anything. I guess that's a bad example because you're not going to have 4 shaman with 9 warrior. But if you're facing a mage team that goes storm shaman, scryer, defector, and you kill the defector right away, or you kill the scryer right away, your team's going to have a really hard time against that mage comp. If you're up against 6 cave, 4 glacier, 4 shaman, and you lose your hyper carry, you've lost the round. So I would only play assassin in the current meta if something's handed to you. Like if it's turn 4, turn 5, you weren't really planning on going assassin, but maybe you have some water spirits, or maybe you hit Soulbreaker, you hit a 2-star Soulbreaker early in the game, and then on turn 4 or 5 you roll 3 abyssal guards all at once, or you roll 2 abyssal guards, 2 water elementals, something like that, right? If the game hands it to you, maybe you go for assassin and you try to get top 3 off of momentum and pushing your advantage, but it's just in a much worse spot with 4 shaman in the game. So I want to transition and talk about 6 cave, 4 glacier, 4 shaman. So based off of what I've seen, when you get the composition fully up and running, meaning you have your 2 wizards that give you 6 cave, you have 4 glacier and 4 shaman, it's just super, super well rounded, right? So you have, if you 3-star Skull Hunter, you have your summon doing pure damage. You have the lava cave unit doing AoE pure damage silence. You have Storm Shaman doing silence. You have and Storm Shaman doing pretty good magic damage. You have good magic damage coming out of Swordman. So you're doing a good balance of physical damage, pure damage, magic damage. You're silencing. You have very fast attack speed because you have 4 glacier bonus, and you have a ton of HP with 6 cave. 4 shaman also makes it so if their team has a hyper carry that's trying to burn through the fact that you basically have 1,000 HP added to each of your units, so that they would otherwise be very durable, and you would need a hyper carry with tons of items loaded on them to chew through all that HP. The second they kill one of the shaman units, it's likely that you're out of luck. So if you're 9 warrior and you have Doom and it turns into Soul Reaper, those carry items aren't going to be doing anything for you. So I think that's an accurate overview of the state of it. Is just that it's very well rounded, very hard to beat, and it shuts down too many things at once. But on top of that, what I really have a problem with is the approach that they took to got here. So they introduced way too many things into the game all at once. So six cave used to not be a synergy. It used to not be possible. You used to only be able to get, four cave by using three cave and two wizards. And that was obviously an underpowered synergy previously that, because it took 5 units to achieve that that four cave bonus. So now you can hit that four cave bonus just off of one cost and two cost units, and that's pretty strong early game, for anything. So you just add, you have those four cave units, you add two more hunters. Now you have, three hunters and four cave. You two-star those units. They all have 1500 HP with the bonus. You just have a very durable and fairly high damage outputting mid-game build that transitions well into a lot of things. So they added the 6 cave bonus, and the 6 cave bonus is very, very strong, right? If you're missing 80 HP, you're down to 20 HP, then you're doing 80 times 7, 560 HP. You add in the 350 flat, and you're breaking you're breaking 1,000 right there. So that's very strong, and they added that in. So they added 2 new cave units. They added the 6 cave buff, and they added the 4 shaman, the 4 shaman buff. One of the new cave units added was a shaman. So it even without Sacred Lancer added, just with Berserker, you had a synergy that basically builds itself, right? It's 6 cave, 4 glacier, 4 shaman, and you're doing well. Now you add in Sacred Lancer, which is one of the better carries in the game. It scales based on HP lost, and if you are giving it 1000 HP for free with the 6 cave bonus, it makes it a lot harder to burst down when it gets low HP. It gets a ton of magic resistance, a ton of attack speed, a ton of regen. It's difficult to burst it down. It scales amazingly well because you can put Frantic on it without silencing it because it doesn't use mana. You can put Holy Spirit Lance on it. You can put a ton of, basically any range carry item is going to be doing really well on it. Anything that increases its attack speed. My thought is that if you're adding things that impact a synergy or impact two synergies that go well together, you should do them one at a time, right? So maybe they do cave bonus first without adding Sacred Lancer. Maybe, this is crazy, but we got a new 5 cost unit. Maybe they remove Scryer so there's less shaman units, and there's less flexibility with getting 4 shaman. I don't think that's the right solution, but I guess the point I'm trying to get at is I'd like, maybe they remove one of the other glacier units, right? Maybe they remove Fortune Teller, and that makes it harder to lost streak into glacier while still accumulating glacier units that you need. Maybe they remove Defector. Maybe they remove one of the other glacier units while adding in Sacred Lancer. I'm not sure exactly what the answer is. It's just adding too much all at once, and it's hard to tell what's the thing that's overtuned. Is it the 6 cave bonus? Is it the 4 shaman bonus? Is it the fact that late game you're given Sacred Lancer on top of those 2 bonuses, so you're shutting down the other team's carry? All of your units are super durable, and there's no real way to burst down Sacred Lancer. It's very hard to evaluate and pick the things apart when they add so much all at once, all of which goes into one strategy. Okay, so I think this video is, pretty long at this point. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if people like this type of video, I'll make more of them in the future. Thanks, and goodbye.